Chapter 1. The Whispering Spoons of Nana. Welcome to Once Upon a Recipe. Step into a world where tales are told and flavors unfold. Within these pages, you'll discover a unique blend of captivating stories and delicious culinary creations. Each chapter begins with an enchanting narrative, inviting you on a journey through imaginative landscapes and heartwarming adventures. But the story doesn't end when the last word is read. At the close of every tale, you'll find a carefully crafted recipe, inspired by the very narrative you've just experienced. Perhaps it's a dish mentioned by a character, a meal enjoyed in a magical setting, or a treat that embodies the spirit of the adventure. Once Upon a Recipe is more than just a cookbook. It's an invitation to explore the delightful connection between storytelling and the art of cooking. We hope these pages spark your imagination in the kitchen and at the table, creating new memories and delicious moments. Get ready to read, cook, and savor. Chapter 1. The Whispering Spoons of Nana Amelia. Chef Mario's hands, now bearing the gentle map of 3 decades spent kneading dough, chopping vegetables, and stirring simmering sauces, still remembered the cool, smooth feel of his Nana Amelia's wooden spoon. He could almost smell the comforting aroma of garlic and basil that perpetually clung to her apron, a scent as familiar and beloved as his own name. His culinary journey hadn't begun in a prestigious academy or a trendy bistro, but in the heart of Nana Amelia's sun-drenched kitchen in a small village nestled amongst the rolling hills of Italy. It was a chaotic yet harmonious space, filled with the clatter of pots and pans, the rhythmic thud of her rolling pin, and Nana Amelia's melodic hum as she worked. Young Mario, barely tall enough to peek over the worn wooden countertop, would perch on a stool, his eyes wide with fascination. One particularly crisp autumn afternoon, the air in the kitchen was thick with the sweet scent of apples and cinnamon. Nana Amelia was preparing her famous torta di mele, her hands moving with practiced grace. Mario watched as she carefully layered thin slices of apple onto the flaky pastry, sprinkling them with sugar and a generous dusting of cinnamon. Nana Amelia wasn't just cooking, she was weaving magic. With flour and water, she coaxed forth fragrant loaves of bread. With ripe tomatoes and fragrant herbs from her garden, she conjured rich, vibrant sauces. Each ingredient had a story, each dish a tradition passed down through generations. "Nana," he asked, his voice small, "why do you put so much love into the food?" Nana Amelia stopped, her warm brown eyes meeting his. She smiled, a network of fine lines crinkling at the corners. "Piccolo mio," she said, her voice gentle. "Food is more than just something to fill our bellies. It is a way to share our love, our history, our very souls. When you cook for someone, you give them a part of yourself." She picked up a spoonful of the apple filling and offered it to him. The warm, sweet, and slightly tart flavor exploded on his tongue. "See," she chuckled. "This taste, this memory, it comes from our family. My mother taught me this recipe, and now I am teaching it to you." From that day forward, Mario saw cooking not just as a task, but as a language of love, of tradition, of connection. He became Nana Amelia's shadow in the kitchen, eagerly learning every technique, every secret ingredient, every whispered instruction. He learned how to select the ripest vegetables at the market, how to knead dough until it sang, and how to coax the most exquisite flavors from simple ingredients. As he grew older, the small kitchen in their village felt both vast with possibilities and too small to contain his burgeoning passion. He left to hone his skills in bustling city kitchens, learning new techniques and experimenting with different cuisines. Yet, no matter how far he traveled or how many accolades he received, he always carried with him the lessons learned at Nana Amelia's knee. Now, decades later, Chef Mario ran a successful restaurant, his own kitchen a vibrant echo of his grandmother's. He still believed in the magic of food, in its power to nourish not just the body but the spirit. And just as Nana Amelia had shared her knowledge with him, Mario found joy in teaching young aspiring chefs, passing on the traditions and the love that had been so generously bestowed upon him. He would often tell them, his voice filled with warmth, "Remember, every dish tells a story. Make sure yours is filled with love." Chapter 2. The Algorithmic Smoke of Pitmaster 5000. The aroma that wafted through the sterile, climate-controlled apartment wasn't the warm, earthy scent of hickory or the sweet perfume of applewood. It was a precisely calibrated blend of synthetic smoke molecules, optimized for maximum sensory impact, a signature of the state-of-the-art Pitmaster 5000. Mark hadn't cooked in years. Not truly. Not since the great culinary shift, when personalized, AI-powered appliances became the norm. Why bother with the messy unpredictability of charcoal and wood when you could have perfectly rendered brisket at the touch of a screen? His Pitmaster 5000, sleek and obsidian, hummed quietly in the corner of his minimalist kitchen, a testament to culinary efficiency. Tonight, however, was different. Tonight, Mark felt a strange pang, a ghost of a memory he couldn't quite place. It flickered like a faulty digital display, a longing for something more. He swiped through the Pitmaster's interface, scrolling past pre-programmed recipes for Wagyu ribs with cherry glaze and Korean pulled pork, all meticulously crafted, all guaranteed for optimal flavor profiles. Yet, none of them resonated with that elusive feeling. Then, deep in the archives, he found it. Legacy recipe, Father's smoked shoulder. The thumbnail showed a grainy image of a man, his face obscured by smoke, tending a massive, archaic-looking barbecue pit. The description was sparse. Slow-smoked pork shoulder, family recipe. Requires manual operation. Curiosity, a sensation he rarely experienced in his automated life, piqued. He tapped the recipe. Warning. A robotic voice announced, "This recipe requires manual operation of a non-standard cooking device. Precise temperature control cannot be guaranteed. Results may vary significantly. Proceed." Mark hesitated. Manual operation? It sounded inefficient, risky, but the ghost of that memory flickered again, stronger this time. He clicked, "Proceed." Chapter 3. The Poutine Prophecy of Old Man Du Bois. The biting wind whipping off the Detroit River carried the faint scent of brine and something else, a comforting, starchy aroma that always reminded Liam of home, Windsor. He pulled his toque tighter, the late autumn chill seeping into his bones as he approached the familiar chipped paint of Du Bois Diner. Old Man Du Bois, the diner's namesake and Liam's culinary mentor of sorts, was a gruff but lovable fixture of the Sandwich Town community. He'd been flipping burgers and ladling gravy for longer than Liam had been alive, his hands as weathered and reliable as the ancient grill that dominated the open kitchen. Du Bois Diner wasn't fancy, but it served honest, hearty food, the kind that warmed you from the inside out. And nothing was more emblematic of that than their legendary poutine. Liam pushed open the squeaky door, the bell above jingling a welcome. The air inside was thick with the mingled scents of frying potatoes, rich gravy, and melting cheese curds, a symphony of comfort food. Old Man Du Bois stood hunched over the fryer, his silhouette framed by the golden bubbling oil. "Well, look what the wind blew in," Du Bois grumbled, a hint of a smile playing on his lips as he turned and saw Liam. "Thought you'd forgotten your old pal and his delicacy." He gestured with a fry basket towards a towering plate of poutine, the steam rising in swirling clouds. Liam chuckled. "Never, Du Bois, especially not when the prophecy is looming." Du Bois raised a bushy eyebrow. his gaze sharp despite his years. The prophecy, still clinging to that old wives' tale. The poutine prophecy was a local legend, a bit of folklore Du Bois himself had spun over the years. He claimed that the perfect poutine, made with precisely the right balance of crispy fries, squeaky cheese curds, and a gravy so rich it could mend a broken heart, held serene sip of Professor Anya. The city, a pulsating web of neon and ambition, never truly slept. Neither, it seemed, did Professor Anya Sharma. Her days were a relentless blur of research grants, lecture hall debates, and the constant hum of her quantum physics lab. Her mind, a brilliant, tireless engine, was always whirring, analyzing, predicting. But tonight, the whirring was less about discovery and more about dissonance. The hum of the city outside her apartment window felt like a grating buzz, and the residual energy from a particularly intense departmental meeting vibrated unpleasantly behind her eyes. She moved through her minimalist apartment, a space designed for efficiency, not comfort. The sleek, chrome surfaces reflected the harsh overhead lighting, doing little to soothe her frayed nerves. She yearned for silence, for stillness, for a brief reprieve from the relentless data stream of her existence. Anya's gaze drifted to the small, unassuming jar on her spice rack, a gift from her grandmother, a woman whose wisdom often felt more profound than any equation Anya had ever solved. Inside were the fragments of cinnamon sticks, whole nutmeg, and tiny, fragrant pods of cardamom. Her grandmother had called them sleep whispers, ingredients for a special drink that could soothe even the most agitated mind. Anya, the scientist, had always dismissed it as anecdotal folk medicine. But tonight, desperation outweighed skepticism. Chapter 5. The Midnight Burger of Chef Antoine. The kitchen of the Grill House was a crucible, especially on a Friday night. The air shimmered with heat rising from flat-top grills. The roar of the exhaust hoods was a constant industrial symphony, and the rhythmic sizzle of 100 beef patties hitting hot metal was the relentless drumbeat of the rush. Chef Antoine, a man whose passion for precision was matched only by his love for a perfectly cooked medium rare, moved through the controlled chaos like a seasoned conductor. For 6 straight hours, his hands had been a blur, flipping burgers with surgical accuracy, plating towering concoctions of bacon, cheese, and caramelized onions, and barking out orders that cut through the din. The ticket rail, once a cascading waterfall of paper, had finally dwindled to a trickle. "All right, crew," he announced, his voice hoarse but triumphant. "Another Friday conquered. Go on, get out of here. You've earned it." Sweat plastered his chef's whites to his back, and the familiar ache had settled into his feet. His team, a dedicated crew of line cooks and expediters, looked equally spent, their faces shiny with grease and exhaustion. As the last order for Table 7 was whisked away, a sudden, profound silence descended, broken only by the hum of the refrigerators and the distant clatter of the dish pit. Antoine leaned against the cool stainless steel counter, letting out a long, weary sigh. He hadn't eaten a proper meal since lunch, surviving on stray fries and the occasional nibble of a perfectly cooked patty during quality checks. His stomach rumbled in protest, a hollow echo in the suddenly quiet space. Heart and the legacy. Chef Mario, his salt and pepper hair a testament to years of culinary artistry, watched his children, Robbie and Shani, bicker good-naturedly over who got to stir the mixing bowl. The scent of onions caramelizing gently on the stove mingled with the distant, earthy aroma of fresh herbs, the prelude to what was, for their family, far more than just dinner. It was the lucky loaf, a tradition born from the most unexpected and beloved member of their family, Buster. Buster was a scruffy, golden retriever mix with eyes that held the wisdom of ancient philosophers and a tail that wagged with the enthusiasm of a perpetual puppy. He wasn't just a pet, he was family. And Buster, much like Mario himself, held a profound appreciation for good food. His favorite spot during meal prep was always at Mario's feet in the kitchen. A silent, hopeful observer, occasionally receiving a forbidden morsel, when Shaney wasn't looking, of course. The lucky loaf, in its nascent form, was a simple beef meatloaf Mario would often make on chilly evenings. It was hearty, unfussy, and always seemed to hit the spot after a long day. Buster adored it. He would sit, head cocked, watching every slice, every spoonful, his anticipation a tangible thing. On those nights, the kitchen felt especially warm, filled with the comforting smells of baking meatloaf, the quiet contentment of the family, and Buster's soft, happy sighs.
Slimmy Timmy wasn't built like a typical construction worker. Lanky where others were burly, agile where they were ponderous, he could navigate a half-built scaffold like a spider on its web. His nickname was a testament to his lean frame, but don't let it fool you. Timmy could outwork most men twice his size. His uniform was always the same, worn jeans, a faded flannel, and a hard hat that had seen more dents than a demolition derby. And his chariot? A rust-speckled fire-engine red Ford F-150, a relic from the late 90s, its engine a low rumble that vibrated through the asphalt, a steady heartbeat to Timmy's own. He pulled the red beast into his usual spot outside the sprawling construction site, the morning sun barely clearing the Toronto skyline. Another day, another tower inching its way to the clouds. His lunchbox, a dented metal cube, felt strangely light. Inside a utilitarian sandwich, a bruised apple, and a thermos of lukewarm coffee. It was fuel, nothing more. Lately Timmy's meals had lost their spark, their flavor. It was a dull ache in his chest, a phantom limb of comfort he couldn't quite grasp. That comfort, he knew, resided in the ghost of a scent, the rich, earthy aroma of his late mother's homemade lasagna. Sarah Timms was a force of nature, a tiny woman with hands that could build a garden from scratch and conjure culinary magic from the simplest ingredients. Her lasagna wasn't just a meal, it was an event. Layers of tender pasta, rich, slow-simmered bolognese, creamy bechamel, and a symphony of cheeses, baked until the edges were crisp, and the center bubbled with molten goodness. But there was always something else to it, a subtle warmth, a profound wave of relaxation that settled deep in your bones, melting away the day's aches and stresses. After a slice of Mom's lasagna, the world just seemed a little softer. Problems felt a little smaller. You drifted into a state of contented ease, the kind you craved after swinging a hammer all day. He remembered one particularly brutal winter evening, a blizzard howling outside. Timmy, a teenager then, had come in soaked and shivering from clearing snow. His mom had handed him a steaming plate of her lasagna. He'd eaten it slowly, feeling the warmth spread through him, not just from the food's temperature but from something deeper. He remembered feeling a gentle euphoria, the kind that smoothed out all the rough edges of the day, leaving him utterly peaceful. He'd often asked her, "Mom, what's your secret ingredient? It's magic." She'd just smile, her eyes twinkling, and say, "A mother's love, Timmy, and a little something extra." After she passed, the something extra became a family joke, a bittersweet mystery. Timmy had tried to recreate it countless times, following her handwritten recipe to the letter. He bought the best tomatoes, simmered the sauce for hours, layered the cheeses just right. It tasted good, certainly, but it never had that profound, soul-soothing effect. The magic was missing. One rainy Saturday, rummaging through old boxes in the garage, he found it. Not a recipe, but a small, leather-bound journal tucked away beneath old photo albums. His mother's neat script filled the pages, daily thoughts, gardening notes, and then, on a page titled Sarah's Special Sauce Enhancer, a simple, almost mischievous note, a dash of nature's calming herb, infused gently. Beneath it, a small dried leaf pressed into the page, unmistakable. Cannabis. Timmy stared at it, a laugh bubbling up from his chest, tinged with a fresh wave of missing her. Of course, his free-spirited, wisecracking mother. He finally understood. The something extra wasn't just love, it was her kind of love. A playful, deeply empathetic desire to truly soothe and relax her family. He spent the rest of that weekend in his kitchen, the red pickup truck sitting silent in the driveway. He meticulously prepared the sauce, the cheese blend, the pasta. This time, as the sauce simmered, he infused a small amount of cannabis into olive oil, just as her note suggested, carefully measuring, a sense of reverence guiding his hands. He layered it all, placing the lovingly prepared dish into the oven. As the aroma filled his small house, it wasn't just the smell of savory meat and bubbling cheese. It was, the scent of memory, of understanding, of a mother's unique embrace. When he finally pulled the bubbling casserole from the oven, its surface golden and just, irresistible, he sliced a generous portion. He ate it slowly, savoring each bite. The first wave of familiar comfort washed over him. The muscles in his shoulders, perpetually tight from construction work, began to loosen. His mind, usually buzzing with the day's tasks, settled into a quiet hum. It wasn't about getting high, it was about the profound, gentle relaxation his mother had intended, a warmth that started in his belly and spread outward, dissolving every tension. He smiled, a genuine, deep-seated smile. He finally had it. Not just the recipe, but the understanding. His mother's legacy wasn't just the perfect dish, it was the thoughtful, unconventional way she cared for her family, making sure their lives, even amidst the grind, had a little bit of magic, a little bit of true serenity. And as the last forkful disappeared, Slimmy Timmy knew he would carry on this tradition, a loving secret passed down through every soul-soothing slice.